And just by like painting a couple murals out there and us hosting a weekly bike ride from the bike shop, like all of a sudden that alleyway was transformed. It's crazy what effect these murals had on just this little space.
Hey, welcome to the Adler.tv show. I'm Chris Adler, and on my website, Adler.tv, I host this podcast and video series featuring a different guest in a different location each week. This week, I spent 2 days out in the downtown Birmingham heat filming and painting alongside hundreds of other volunteers led by my guest, Marcus Fetch. He and his partner Sean Gilder are responsible for many of the iconic murals seen around the state of Alabama. This community project was a 500-foot rainbow wall. After the project was complete, I sat down with Marcus Fetch to chat. I'm sitting underneath a bridge in Birmingham, Alabama, right off Morris Avenue, where it used to be just a plain wall here, 500 feet of just kind of junky concrete wall, and now it's a rainbow, 500 feet of rainbow. And the reason it is like that is because Marcus Fetch.
Well, I know, and help from a bunch of other people, but yes.
You threw together... You
came out of my head anyway.
You threw together hundreds of volunteers that, don't have any kind of painting experience whatsoever, and you made a freaking awesome community revitalization project out of it, man. Way to go.
Thanks.
This is not your first time to do this, though. I assume it's not your first time to do this kind of thing.
No, it was just as crazy, though. It was just as an adventure for me, for sure.
So, yeah, man. If you're not familiar with Marcus and his work, he's got tons of sick murals all around town, and I know you travel as well to do like commissioned work, like from underneath bridges to inside museums and salons and bars and everything in between, man. You're putting up some really interesting, cool, quality art, and people have taken notice, man. It's when you do quality, good stuff, people take notice, and that's definitely happening with you, man. Like, I was at a gas station the other day, and I see your face on the cover of Birmingham magazine or whatever it is, yeah, and I'm just like, heck yeah, man. Like, it's amazing to see all the different kinds of people that come out here, man. Like, people just want to talk to you. People want to meet you. People want to meet the guy that is adding color to Birmingham. And there's a reason why you're kind of going with this rainbow theme. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I can first start with, explaining why the wall behind me is colored. We did an event this weekend that we called the Rainbow Wall, which was a public mural painting event where anyone from the city was welcome to come out this weekend while we were out here and paint this thing with us. It gives people the opportunity to be a part of creating a landmark in town, that will live on for years and, affect thousands of people. So it's really cool to watch people's experience. They feel a sense of pride and like they're being a part of something special. So this all started with a couple years ago when I had people hitting me up for wanting to volunteer. And 30, 40, 50 people on Facebook just kept getting more. And I really didn't want to tell anybody no.
Yeah.
So I was like, I need to start curating events where, everybody come out and paint despite your skill set,
Totally.
And last year we did a big one that the city sponsored called the Color Wall. And that was kind of a social experiment. It was a free flow type of mural where anybody can kind of paint whatever they wanted. And that was fun. It was super chaotic. But the end result was more of this kind of splatter painted looking mural. And I wanted something that was a little more matched all the way down the wall, maybe a little more controlled. So that's why we did this one. We found sponsors, and we decided that since this wall was coming right off the three lit rainbow tunnels, that we just continue that art theme all the way down the tracks and create the rainbow wall. And then, Jay Brandrup and Kinetic, they helped gather other sponsors like Shipped and some neighborhood businesses to pitch in. We got the paint, and we just, slaved away for 2 days. But,
Dude, yeah, man. I'm like sunburned. I'm like wearing a hat and sunglasses in the shade. And like Saturday, hundreds of people came out. And then Sunday was kind of like the finishing touches. And you really do, man. You almost were like, you kind of set people up for success in that you're like, color in this space. It's like when you're coloring on a piece of paper, like just stay within the lines and you'll be great. So there were kids out here. There were adults out here. There were people from churches. There were people, there were tattooed, rainbow-haired lesbians
even had a lady
out here. It was awesome.
We even had a lady in a wheelchair.
Yeah, man.
She came out for a little bit.
Yeah, dude. It was amazing. Like, it's hard to find people with that big of a difference in their, who they are in their lives come together and, like, do something they all feel good about, man. It's amazing, dude. You do some really cool stuff, man. You should feel good.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks.
So, how'd you get started in, like, were you always just drawing, sketching and stuff, and then eventually you're like, I'm gonna start putting this stuff up on walls, or how did you get started into like the mural game?
Yeah. Well, so I've been in Birmingham now for about 7 years, and what I was known for prior to painting murals was the bike shop Redemptive Cycles, which was a non-profit bike shop that I opened up in downtown back in 2013. And for about 4 years, 4 to 5 years, worked to build that. During that time, Redemptive Cycles is located right by Innovation Depot in Railroad Park. I about 3 years ago started getting into cleaning up the neighborhood, the alleyways and stuff, and started painting murals. And I didn't know what the heck I was doing, so off the bat, I was painting garbage, but it was better than nothing, right?
Yeah, man.
And during that time, I started to fall in love with how powerful public art could be. Because, back then we took this alleyway that was surrounded by 2 homeless shelters. And it's one of the worst areas in downtown, not the worst. And just by like painting a couple murals out there and us hosting a weekly bike ride from the bike shop, like all of a sudden that alleyway was transformed. And a lot of people would go back there to take photos and stuff. I remember being so startled one day because there's like some homeless guys out there, maybe on crack or something in the back alley.
Sure. Yeah.
And then prom like crew pulled up to take photos in front of some of like, the murals. And they were like never in a million years like drive into that area of town and get out of their car normally.
No.
And I'm like, wow, like that's crazy what effect these murals had on just this little space. A little over 2 years ago is when I retired from running the bike shop and building it. Just took a board position and started doing more art full time. In the years prior, I was doing primarily graphic design work for the bike shop and for some other friends and stuff. So I was always somewhat of an artist, but I didn't know how to paint much. And it was just another thing that, I worked hard and taught myself to do. And within about 6 months to a year of painting like some murals and working on my art, I started getting some mural jobs and stuff. During that time too, Birmingham didn't really have very many artists trying to really push hard to paint murals in town. So it wasn't too difficult to break through, It's not like Atlanta or a bigger city where there's tons of artists and competition is really hard. So I guess I was kind of fortunate to that regard too.
It's shocking to see that, like, you've only been doing murals for this amount of time, like you are the go-to guy, like Slossfest, the festival here in the city. I'm walking past like these big cubes, they look awesome, and I'm like, I wonder who did that. Oh, of course, it's Marcus. They reached out to Marcus to do it because if you want something cool done, and that's what happens when you get out and work hard and do cool stuff, quality stuff, man. And you do a ton of, like, you can tell that a lot of what you do is not about you, man. I know that sounds strange, but like when you come out here and you're leading a group of 100 volunteers, you're not like screaming, you're not ordering people around. There's no ego. You're like, hey guys, all right, who's spray painted before? All right, come over here. We're gonna put some color up on this wall, and people are like, yeah, let's do it. You know, you speak softly and you carry a big paintbrush, man, and that's freaking awesome, dude. It's amazing, man. You're not out here tagging your name. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I don't want to hate on people like and all those guys, but to me, what you're doing is stupid, man. What you're doing is pointless. What you're doing is pushing you, is helping you, is propping up you. And to me, maybe you work hard and you feel good about seeing your name up there, but wouldn't you feel so much better like if you worked hard and you put something cool up that people wanted to come to and visit and see, and it's not just about you, it's about more than that. You know what I'm saying, man? So huge props to you on that, and I'm honestly probably going to cut the names out that I just said, because I don't want to get killed.
Yeah, you should. Well, I can talk about that real briefly.
Please do.
I guess I have, if you looked at my portfolio so far, the stuff that I've done has kind of been across the board. And that's in part because I try and work with every single client and figure out, what will make them happy, or if I'm painting a mural for a space, talk with the neighbors and everything and see what they want. And that's been something that's attributed to my success, because a lot of artists will only want to paint their specific type of style and what they want. And I can respect that if that's like your choice as an artist. I think it's a good thing to know yourself and to know what you want to speak through your art. But yeah, you just don't get as many opportunities. And for me, the more murals and the more color I can get in the city, the better. So even if it's, a really basic, simple design, it's better than a blank wall, And it is beautiful when you can create a mural that represents a whole collective or group of people, and not just yourself. As far as the relationship between street artists, it's like there's different arguments on both levels, but I'm happy to have them have my back, because they're running the streets. So
yeah, man. All right, so I take back everything I said. I'm sorry.
I started a group on Facebook called Color Birmingham, and its whole purpose is to continue to create public mural events where everybody can be involved with, and hopefully, I want them to always be very colorful, because Birmingham has been known as a city of color in racial terms for so long, with our heritage and everything that happened with the civil rights movement, that we've been such a black and white city. And it's like perfect to redefine us being known as a city color to be a colorful city, like it's perfect. And this idea that in 5-10 years from now, we're known nationwide as Birmingham, the city of color, like that would, make my heart melt, bro. So, and I've Googled it too. No city yet has the nickname City of Color. So we're set up for it. I'm gonna push it.
Dude, that is awesome, man. And you really have. You've created a landmark, along with all the volunteers and all the work that was done. And you're such a humble guy. You always point to other people. I'm going to keep saying you, but when I say you, it's the collective you that you've helped orchestrate. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
So, honestly, Morris Avenue is this landmark road in Birmingham, downtown, that's got cobblestone. It's super cool, and you know it because it's got the cobblestone. This is just as big of a visual thing. In fact, kids and tons of other people are just as likely to notice something like that. And that cobblestone road is a freaking like institution of this town.
Yeah.
And you've just put another one right next to it.
Yeah.
And which is amazing, man. It's such a cool thing. What's the hardest part of putting together an event like this? Because I know you mentioned like it's a couple months of work and then the day it happens.
Yeah.
So what's the process of painting like a mural versus the process of painting something like this?
So, with a lot of murals we're doing for businesses, and it's a kind of a lengthy. It's easy because they're paying for the money, so you don't got to worry about fundraising. That's such a difficult part with one of these public events. But then you're also kind of running through a more detailed design, and the easiest part is it's just me and Sean going out and painting it. So you don't got to worry about anything getting messed up, you know. With this, fundraising in itself is like super hard. But when you're lucky enough to get the money, then coordinating the event's even crazier. Trying to coordinate 100+ people at the same time to all paint. I mean, it was just nuts. And you saw it on Saturday. I feel so overwhelmed, and 1,000 people are asking me questions. And a lot of it, you just kind of have to close your eyes. You know, a 7-year-old kid is just like blasting yellow on this part of the wall, and you don't want any more, but you're just like, all right, I'll fix it later. Like, just let him have fun.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, man.
And that's the biggest part, is probably just making everybody happy. Because the people who are coming out, you want a good experience for them. But I also got these sponsors that gave money, and, you know, dang it, they want a good looking wall. And for years, this place is going to be here, so it needs to look good. Balancing all that, most artists don't even, you know, most people don't want to try it. It's too much of a headache. I guess my years of experience working with community, with the bike shop, and with different nonprofit work I did, definitely helped me have the capabilities to be able to manage a lot of people. And I've always kind of been a fire starter like that too, you know, in town.
So every episode, I feature a nonprofit of the week every at the end of every episode, and I try to make it relate to the guest in some kind of way. Do you have a nonprofit that you'd suggest? I know Redemptive, you still serve on the board there.
Yeah, it has to be Redemptive.
Awesome.
So Redemptive, well, you know, is my baby. Will always be, because I built it from ashes, right?
Yeah, man.
I started it in 2012 as a weekend thing on Saturdays, and now it's this big 5-employee, you know, corporation nonprofit now. It's nuts. But we're a staple in downtown now, and we always need to fundraise more. So that would have to be the one.
Yeah, like in a nutshell, what do you guys? How do you guys operate?
Yeah. So basic summary: Redemptive Cycles. When you walk in, it looks like a bike shop.
Right.
We're selling bicycles, doing repairs, stuff like that. But the first difference you'll notice is we're selling tons of used bikes, because that's part of our fundraising model. People donate bikes, we resell them. It's all to fund our multiple charitable service programs, which is the big ones is our Earn a Bike program. We give away bikes for free. We did about 175 last year.
Wow.
To like guys in missions and the homeless.
Yeah.
It's almost one every day we're open.
Yeah.
Give away a free bike. And then we're doing free repairs for guys on the streets or just people who don't have enough money. And we're doing bike valet for all the events all around town and our weekly ride. We have a public workstation inside the shop, open 40 hours a week. So anybody can come in and use our tools and stuff and fix their own bike for free. We'll help them. So it's kind of like bicycle accessibility, you know, for those who don't have a lot of money.
Yeah, yeah. And here comes the train. Yeah, this is like one of the coolest places I've ever done a podcast, man. Like, this is amazing. You're going to hear throughout this episode, you're going to hear trains going by, you're going to hear traffic above us, you're going to hear the fluttering of pigeons' wings. There's some pigeon who I think is having some kind of like bowel movement problem over there, because there's some really weird sounds coming from over there. But I love it, man. I love the sounds of the city. So yeah, talk to me about RedPath Creative.
Yeah, so after 5 years of building Redemptive Cycles, and during that time I was known as the Bike Man. You know, everybody in town, oh, it's the Bike Man, Marcus. It was kind of funny. Well, partly because we do a tall bike joust every year.
Yes, man, it's amazing. I've been like 3 times. It's amazing. It's the sketchiest thing ever. Tall bike joust is exactly what it sounds like. 2 people get on super tall bicycles, ride towards each other, and compete in jousting. Like Game of Thrones, knights in armor jousting. Except no one's wearing armor. It's so sketchy.
It's like, I know, it's so renegade. I freaking love it. And this last year was huge. We had like 600 or 700 people come out.
Dude, awesome.
Man. So one thing cool about that is I'm the tall bike joust godfather in town.
Yeah, buddy.
So at the end of every one, which you've seen, but for the people listening, at the end of every tournament, we have 12 people compete, and then the winner got to battle me. I'm like big boss. Haven't lost yet.
Dude,
Hopefully, I'm
that's
getting
so
older,
good.
but hopefully I can hold on. And but yeah, we'll be doing that this fall. But after 5 years of running the bike shop and moving on to what I wanted to do next, I realized I wanted to do more art. And I love how art is so influential. Even in branding for businesses, it can be very influential. And you can create a good impact in your city and in your culture by what your business stands for or what your art stands for. So I started getting more into that, more into murals. And I formed RedPath Creative, which is just a small LLC that me and Sean operate under.
Yeah, Sean is the man. How did y'all get hooked up?
Sean moved back from New York 2 years ago. And then about a year and a half ago, we started working together. We met through a mutual friend. Sean's a very talented artist, and was just kind of starting fresh again, back here down south. So it just worked out well, and now we live together, and we work together every day. So we spend a lot of time together, but it's good. It's good to have somebody that I can trust and bounce things off of, and we depend on each other a lot. And yeah, RedPath Creative is just our LLC. I don't think we care too much about branding. It's funny, as artists, we do a bad job on social media because we don't care that much to post on Instagram and Facebook. And I know you need to do it for a business.
Yeah, man.
But it's just, social media is so overrated these days. So,
dude, it is. But dude, that's such a huge part of why stuff like this is so successful, because people want to get a picture with it, man. People want to come to it and get a picture with it. And do you think that how has social media changed art in a positive and or negative way?
One good answer is that a lot more artists are doing temporary pieces. So even for an example, like if you've ever seen on social media those guys that stack stones.
Yeah, totally.
And it's like incredible.
It is, yeah.
It's incredible some of the stuff they can do. But I would, the fact that they can now take a photo of it and it lives on social media forever.
Yeah.
Instead of, even though it's going to fall over in a couple hours.
Yeah.
It's like a lot more art like that is occurring. But I also think that our whole culture is getting pretty saturated and desensitized to art.
Yeah.
Because we see so much good art and everything nowadays. We're kind of spoiled.
Yeah.
So that has a different effect on it. No matter what, murals are one of those things that they're already public, so you don't necessarily have to share them.
Yeah.
Enough people are going to see them anyway and take photos.
Yeah. They do it for you, man. It's crazy.
Yeah. So that's helpful. And, even though community projects like this I don't make any money off of, it does, in-kind help just to promote mine and Sean's name, and we get calls for more murals. D! This is one of our bike rides. One of the Redemptive crew on Sundays, they do a bike ride. Hey.
What's going on, man?
What's up? Doing a little podcast.
So where are you guys headed today?
Well, it's World Bicycling Day, so...
Today's World Bicycling Day?
It is indeed. Yep.
Oh my gosh. Dude, before we shut this down, I'm going to do some quick rapid-fire questions with you real quick, man. I know you got to head to Tuscaloosa and do a stinking awesome mural for a salon. Sean, your partner in crime, just showed me like a rendering of it. So you guys like render it out in Photoshop, project it onto this wall, then start spraying, start painting.
Yeah, some we can.
Yeah.
The projector is awesome. Because when you're painting really big stuff, doing an outline just to make sure the proportions are correct is really vital.
Yeah.
It sucks because you can only do it with smaller murals. With really big ones, like the World Games mural we did, that was about 60 feet tall. We had to grid that one out, and that was a nutty experience in general, because just being up in 60 feet in the air in a bucket lift truck, it was just crazy,
Yeah, man. You've done some really cool projects around the city, man. Okay, rapid fire. Here we go. So, tell me the story of that family tattoo that you got right there,
The
man.
family tat. Yeah. So, well, before I came into Birmingham, I spent multiple years on the road traveling, hitchhiking around the country a little bit. Then I lived out of a camper van.
Sweet, dude.
And I kind of came into Birmingham on accident. It was just another place where I was going to work construction for a few weeks and then move on.
Yeah.
Then I ended up meeting people that I really liked, and I felt something special about this town, so I stayed. And it was cool because that intuitive feeling of fate or from God that I felt, and I feel like came true with impacting the city and opening the bike shop and everything. But over those times on the road, I've gotten a lot of like on the road tattoos and a lot of home house tats.
Yeah.
And so this one of family on my leg was I was with 12 people on my birthday that were all special to me. So I had them tattoo all half of a letter.
So those are casual tattoo artists making that tattoo right there.
Yeah.
Well, that's a super cool thing, man.
You know.
And
so I think tattoos are supposed to reflect significant memories that we want to remember the rest of our lives, right? So I don't know, certain tattoos I have, I guess, were from those moments. Maybe I'll get like a little rainbow bar somewhere. That could be cool to represent this whole color Beham thing that I'm doing.
Did you go to school for art?
No.
Okay.
So I actually didn't go to school for anything. Music is actually the thing that I've been doing since I was a kid. And sometimes some of my friends give me crap because they say out of everything that I do, I'm by far the best at music. I've just been doing it for so long. And the type of music I do is traditional singer-songwriting.
Yeah.
Like folk music, indie music.
Yeah.
And I have an album out on Spotify.
Okay.
That I released 2 years ago because friends were hounding me for so long. And this year was really the first year that I've been looking into trying to do a lot more music. And there's a potential chance in the next coming years that I would love for, music to maybe become something I could do for a career. But I don't think I'll ever stop doing visual art and doing murals. I mean, the ultimate goal is to maybe be touring and while I'm going through cities painting murals. I mean, that'd be incredible. But, I'm happy the way things are, too.
Yeah. Maybe do the camper van thing again. There you go. Problem solved. You got your house on wheels, music, art, traveling.
Yeah.
There it is, man.
But I would love if anybody's listening, want to check out that album on Spotify. Just type in my name, Marcus Fetch, or on iTunes or whatever.
Cool. Can I use it to close out this episode?
Yeah.
Just like some background music?
Yeah.
All right, I will do that, sir.
It'd be fantastic.
And dude, like I said, man, like you're a big personality without being like overbearing, and you bring people together for the good, man, and you do it selflessly, and it's awesome to see what you're doing, man. Like you're changing the city. Like if enough people like you do something in this city, like I lived in Birmingham 10 years ago. I lived in the city of Birmingham 10 years ago, and none of this stuff was happening. The railroad park wasn't around. None of that stuff happened. And people like you have to do stuff like this in order for change to come and positive things to happen. So, man,
you're right.
Huge respect to you, man, big time. And
thank you, Chris.
Thanks for talking to me, man, big time.
Yeah, thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, Marcus Fetch. I'll try that.
And maybe we can together find the thing that we always wanted.
That's it for this episode. All the music was provided by Marcus Fetch, and the following sponsors made the 500-foot rainbow wall possible. Shipped, Kinetic, Kerrigan's Public House, Marvin McConaughey, Audrey Vaughn, Bing Edwards, and Row 5 Records. Special shout out to RedPath Creative for making it happen. Next week, my guest is a former White House insider, a New York Times best-selling author, and now president here in Birmingham of Telegraph Creative. Cliff Sims is next week. I am excited. To support this show, just subscribe, like, comment, and leave a review on iTunes. It really does help, and it's great to get feedback from you guys. Thank you so much for watching and for listening. I will see you next week.
I think it's okay if I smoke right here. There's no kids around, is there? Nope. I don't know the smoking policies nowadays.